Long before written history, before there was a kingdom, before there was a crown, before history had a name, how a small, fractured island rose from darkness to become Britain. There was only wilderness. Cold winds swept across an empty land. Ice carved the mountains. Storms shaped the seas. And survival was the only law. But this land would not remain silent. Across thousands of years, tribes arrived. Warriors conquered. Empires rose and fell. Kingdoms were forged, and destiny was written in stone. This is the story of how a small, fractured island rose from darkness to become Britain. Before Britain had a name. Around 12,000 years ago, the land we now call Britain was not an island at all. It was part of mainland Europe. A vast stretch of land, known today as Doggerland, connected Britain to what is now France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Humans and animals crossed freely. Hunters followed herds across forests, rivers, and open plains. These early people were not British. They were Stone Age hunter-gatherers, surviving with simple tools made from stone and bone. But nature was already changing their destiny. At the end of the last ice age, massive glaciers began melting. Sea levels slowly rose, swallowing Doggerland piece by piece. Generation after generation watched their world shrink. Until one day, around 6,500 BC, the land bridge disappeared beneath the sea. Britain became an island. Isolation had begun. The first settlers of Britain. The earliest permanent settlers arrived during the Mesolithic period, the Middle Stone Age. They lived in small groups, building simple shelters near rivers and forests. They hunted deer, boar, and wild cattle. They fished the rivers and gathered berries, nuts, and roots. Life was hard, but stable. Then, around 4000 BC, something revolutionary happened. New people arrived. Farmers. These settlers brought animals, cattle, sheep, goats, and knowledge of growing crops like wheat and barley. For the first time, people in Britain began clearing forests and building permanent villages. This was the Neolithic Revolution, the birth of farming in Britain. And with farming came something else. Monuments. The builders of stone. Across the land, mysterious stone structures began appearing. Burial chambers, sacred circles, earthworks. The greatest of them all still stands today. Stonehenge. Built around 3000 BC, it remains one of the most mysterious monuments in human history. Huge stones, some weighing over 25 tons, were transported from miles away, long before wheels existed in Britain. No written records explain it, but historians believe it was a ceremonial and astronomical site, possibly used to track the sun, the seasons, and sacred rituals. Who built it? Ancient Britons, long before Britain existed. The arrival of metal, the Bronze Age. Around 2500 BC, a new wave of people arrived from mainland Europe. They brought a powerful new technology, metal. The Bronze Age had begun. Bronze tools and weapons were stronger than stone. Farming improved. Trade expanded. Society became more organized, and powerful tribal leaders emerged. Burial mounds spread across the landscape, marking the graves of important figures. For the first time, inequality appeared. Some had wealth, weapons, and power. Others did not. And change was still coming. The Iron Age and the Celtic world. Around 800 BC, iron replaced bronze. Weapons became deadlier. Farming tools became stronger. But the biggest change was cultural. New tribes arrived from Europe, the Celts. They were not one nation, but many tribes ruled by warriors and chieftains. They spoke early Celtic languages, the ancestors of Welsh, Irish, and Scottish Gaelic. Celtic Britain was fierce, spiritual, and deeply connected to nature. At the center of their religion were the Druids, priests, judges, and scholars who passed knowledge orally, never in writing. They believed in sacred forests, powerful spirits, and life after death. But the Celts were not alone for long. Far to the south, a powerful empire had begun to look toward Britain. Rome. The first Roman contact. In 55 BC, the Roman general Julius Caesar launched the first Roman expedition to Britain. His goal was not conquest, yet, but exploration and power. Roman forces met fierce Celtic resistance. Warriors fought from chariots with speed and surprise. Caesar forced temporary submission from some tribes, but Rome withdrew. Still, Britain was now on Rome's map, and Rome never forgot a land once touched. The Roman conquest. In 43 AD, Emperor Claudius ordered a full invasion. This time, Rome came to conquer. 4 Roman legions, 40,000 soldiers, landed in southern Britain. Tribe after tribe fell. Roads were built. Forts rose. Cities formed. But not all Britons accepted Roman rule. One woman would become legend. The Revolt of Boudica. In 60 AD, a Celtic queen named Boudica led one of the most famous rebellions in British history. After Roman officials humiliated her and her people, she united tribes and launched a violent uprising. Her army burned Roman cities, including Londinium, early London. For a moment, Rome seemed vulnerable, but Roman discipline prevailed. Boudica was defeated. Yet her name became a symbol of resistance remembered for centuries. Roman Britain. For nearly 400 years, Britain was part of the Roman Empire. Romans built roads, towns, bathhouses, temples, and mighty defensive walls like Hadrian's Wall. Trade flourished. Law spread. Civilization grew. Britain was transforming. But Rome itself was weakening. And when Rome fell, Britain was left alone once more. The Anglo-Saxon migration. In the early 400s AD, Roman troops withdrew. New groups arrived: Angles, Saxons, and Jutes. They settled, formed kingdoms, and reshaped the land. From the Angles came the name England. Celtic peoples were pushed westward to Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. Roman Britain faded. Anglo-Saxon England was rising. The birth of early England. By the 600s AD, kingdoms like Northumbria, Mercia, and Wessex had formed. Christianity spread. Writing returned. Learning grew. England was no longer wilderness. It was becoming a nation. But new invaders were coming from the sea. The Viking Age. In 793 AD, Viking raiders attacked Lindisfarne. It shocked the world. For 2 centuries, Vikings raided, settled, and fought across Britain. But one king resisted: Alfred of Wessex. He defeated Viking forces and laid the foundation for a united England. The beginning of Britain. By the late 900s AD, England was unifying. Stone Age settlers, Celtic tribes, Roman conquerors, Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, Viking warriors, all shaped the birth of Britain, not in one moment, but over thousands of years. The legacy. Britain did not begin with a crown or a king. It began with survival, migration, change. From hunters crossing lost land bridges to farmers raising stone monuments to warriors resisting empires. Britain was forged by history, an island shaped by nature and transformed by time. And this was only the beginning.